Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Black Friday. So first things first, I'm going to give you all my overall opinion of this movie, and I'm going to be honest, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I thought it was super solid. Um, Now that I've given you all my overall thoughts and opinion, I'm going to get into a little plot summary here. So you got this group of workers. They work at a toy store, and they have to go in early on Thanksgiving night to open the store at midnight for Black Friday. And stuff's getting a little crazy. You got disgruntled customers. It's extremely busy. Stuff's getting a little crazy, but unbeknownst to the staff, it's only going to get crazier because there's this parasite, and it's turning people into these like monster type creatures. And basically all of the shoppers at this toy store, they turn into these monsters, and the group of coworkers is being pursued by monsters the entire night, and they're just trying to survive. So that is the basic plot. Now I'm going to get into the meat of the actual review, and before I get into the actual review, I want to give some honorable mentions to some recognizable cast members. So the main cast members that I recognize in this, you had Devon Sawa, Michael Jai White, and Bruce Campbell. That's like part of the reason why I checked this movie out, because I've seen them in countless movies and I'm a big fan of all those guys. So I was like, wait, so you're telling me there's a Thanksgiving slash Black Friday themed horror movie with some comedy elements, and it's got Devon Sawa, Michael Jai White, and Bruce Campbell? Like, sign me up. How have I never heard of this movie? Like, what have I been doing with my life? Do I live under a rock? Like, what am I doing here? What's going on here? So, all those gentlemen, they did absolutely fantastic in this movie. They totally killed it, and it's always cool to see some familiar faces. So I just had to give those gentlemen a little shout out before I move on. But now I'm gonna move on. All right, because I can't be a fanboy here all day. At some point I gotta review the movie. All right, and not just talk about like actors that I like. Hey, this actor, he's really cool. Like, I'm going to talk about him for 35 minutes, and that's it. We can't have that. So we're going to get into the actual review here. So, like I touched on, this is a horror comedy, and let me tell you what, I was a big fan of the comedy in this movie. So, it wasn't one of those, so some horror comedies, they're kind of over the top, and they're kind of silly, and the comedy is like goofy, and sometimes it's like a little too goofy. The comedy in this, there was just enough comedy. It was subtle. It wasn't in your face. It was like, it was enough to break the tension, and enough to have like a little fun moment in between all the action packed stuff and all the horror stuff. So the comedy was not overdone, which I liked. And I thought the comedy was like, most of the comedy was just like there was like comedic dialogue. It wasn't like crazy situations for the most part. It was just, there was like funny dialogue. And I thought it was actually pretty raunchy for a newer movie. It was like that type of raunchy adult comedy, which I'm a big fan of. And a lot of movies nowadays, they play it super safe with the comedy. I feel like this movie was kind of raunchy with the humor, and it I don't know, it totally worked for this type of movie. So the comedy in this movie was on point. I'm gonna move on here. Totally unrelated to the comedy, but this is just a random sequence that I liked. At one point, you know, the all the surviving coworkers, they're kind of like trapped in this back room. They're not really trapped, but they've kind of like trapped themselves to separate themselves from all the monsters that are running rampant in the store. And they have this moment where they're all sitting around and they're just like sharing things about their lives and kind of pouring their hearts out. And they're really kind of sharing aspects of their character that like explain why they act the way they do throughout the whole movie. And I really liked it. It was like a good dramatic sequence. It really, like I said, it like explained a lot of the ways that the characters were acting and their motivations and stuff. And I mean, it wasn't necessary in this movie. This is just a action-packed monster movie with some comedy elements. It didn't need to have like any drama, but I feel like that sequence, like the drama really worked. And it reminded me of like the Breakfast Club when they're all like sitting around and they're all stuck together in this situation. So it's like, and this situation, it's not only are they stuck together, they think they might die, so they're like, I might as well just pour my heart out and tell you the truth, tell you how I'm feeling, tell you about my life, my family, blah blah blah, my goals, my aspirations, regrets, all that. So that whole sequence where they're just like in the back room talking to each other, they're like eating like one slice of turkey. They're like, this might be our last Thanksgiving, so they're like eating one slice of turkey and going around and talking about their lives. I love that scene. It was thebomb.com. All right, moving on. I've mentioned 50,000 times already, and especially in the plot summary, this is, at the end of the day, it's a monster movie. So, there's the question: how are the monsters looking? Is it some CGI BS, or are they looking legit? And the monsters in this look absolutely fantastic. They're pretty much all practical, which is super surprising for a newer movie. This movie came out in 2021, and pretty much all of the creature effects are all practical. The monsters, they'll like kind of shapeshift, like not shapeshift like their entire form, but their like faces will like change and mutate, and there's like different creature variations. Like later on, there's like almost like these like boss battle-esque sequences where there's this like just super crazy looking monster that all the coworkers or just one coworker has to fight. So you don't see practical effects as much in modern movies, so it was super refreshing to see. Yeah, there is some CGI with the creature effects and with some of like the bigger scale stuff, but for the most part it's all practical, and the monsters look really cool. They have a cool, unique design. They look creepy, so the monsters look absolutely fantastic in this movie. Yeah, so I mean, that's all we need. We need some good practical effects. We got it. So very, very happy about that. I was very pleasantly surprised. I was like, what? They got pretty much all practical effects in a new movie? What? It's thebomb.com. And the last thing I'm going to touch on before, I end the video is I liked the Black Friday setting, because that's a staple of American culture. You got like American Thanksgiving, and then you got Black Friday after. Everyone goes crazy for the deals. It's a tradition. So I think it's fun that they centered a horror movie around it, and I like all the dialogue and kind of the setting of the retail setting, because I feel like it's really relatable. Like I personally work in retail, and I was I just found myself like watching this movie and being like, man, it really do be like that. Like, and at the beginning, there's this one woman, and she's kind of like a disgruntled customer, and she's just yelling at the cashier kid for like no reason. And for the for the most part, most customers are super nice and they're no problem. But you do get, like, if you're working retail, you do get quite a few disgruntled customers, and people will just yell at you for nothing, and you're just there like stressing out. You got people like behind, and then how like his computer was like all sticky, like you'll have your like register will be having problems and will be like freezing up. So I don't know, like all the retail stuff in this movie was super relatable. And I think if you work in retail and you watch this movie, you'll like it like way more than someone who works in a different line of work. Like I think people who work retail should definitely watch this movie. You'll like laugh at so much stuff. You'll just be like, anything the characters are saying, it's like, I feel you, dude. Like, straight up, like, I feel it. Like, it was funny. Devin Sawa's character, he's like, yeah, I just like try to act like I'm stupid all day. I just like tell the customers like, yeah, it's probably like over there. Like, they'll find it. I don't do stuff like that, but I just thought it was funny. His attitude. He's just burnt out. He's been there 10 years. He's like, yeah, I just kind of like guide them. I'll just be like, yeah, and it's like they'll find it eventually. It's like you just gotta act stupid. Like that's how I approach it. So I don't know. I liked all that retail stuff. It was super fun, and like a lot of people work in those professions. So I think it's fun that they added all that realistic and relatable dialogue and elements in the movie. So that was the last thing that I wanted to touch on. But now I'm gonna get into a little recommendation here, and like I said earlier, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I think the comedy was on point, the horror was on point, the creatures looked great. You had a good cast, a lot of familiar faces, and all the actors did great. I liked the holiday setting, the Thanksgiving setting, the Black Friday setting. I would definitely recommend this movie, and especially if you work retail, you gotta check out this movie, because you'll just kind of, I don't know, you'll kind of get the jokes more than other people. Like, of course, other people will understand it, but like unless you've like lived that experience, like dealt with, customers yelling at you and stuff like that, like you'll really get it if you've worked a job like that. So but I mean, anyone can relate to this movie. Like, if you just anyone who has a job, like that can relate to this, because that's like a lot of the talk about it. It's like, you have like the hierarchy, and like the managers act a certain way, and like some people have like only been there like a little bit, and some people have been there like too long, and it's everyone has that type of stuff going on in their life and in their workplace. So I think it's relatable. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, check it out. It's a great movie, great movie to watch around Thanksgiving, Black Friday. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about Black Friday. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap things up here, but before I head out, I just want to thank you all very much for watching, and yeah, I'm gonna head out, so peace out.